Have you ever noticed how a single health headline can quietly unsettle you, even when nothing in your body feels wrong at all? One of my patients once shared with me that she felt anxious simply because she kept hearing the same unfamiliar word on the news, even though no one had explained what it truly meant. I want you to imagine this for a moment. Information arriving gently, without urgency, giving you clarity instead of worry. My name is Dr. Evelyn Carter. I am 60 years old, and I have spent much of my life caring for older adults and supporting families through moments of uncertainty. I understand how personal health information feels at this stage of life, especially when global news mentions something unfamiliar like the Nipah virus. Curiosity does not mean danger, and learning does not mean something bad is about to happen. Health organizations monitor certain viruses not because trouble is expected, but because careful observation protects communities early. Monitoring is a quiet form of care. It allows experts to prepare responsibly while everyday life continues as normal. From a medical perspective, watching patterns over time is one of the safest ways to protect public health without creating fear. I have learned through dementia care that the brain absorbs information best when it feels safe. When facts are delivered calmly and with context, the mind settles. When information feels rushed or dramatic, the brain tightens and becomes less clear. That is why I believe understanding should always arrive gently, especially for seniors who value routine, dignity, and peace of mind. Being on a watch list does not mean something is imminent. It means professionals are paying attention so you do not have to carry that burden yourself. Awareness is a form of self-respect. It allows you to stay grounded rather than worried. If you appreciate health conversations that feel calm, human, and respectful, I invite you to take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Senior Health Daily. Your support helps us continue creating content that honors patience and clarity. In the next part, we will talk more about what monitoring truly means and why understanding it can actually bring reassurance rather than concern. What a WHO watch list really means. When people hear the phrase WHO watch list, it often sounds more serious than it truly is. Over the years, I have noticed that many older adults quietly worry when they hear this term, not because they feel unwell, but because the word watch list feels unfamiliar and vague. My role as a physician has always been to replace that uncertainty with calm understanding. A watch list is not a prediction. It is not a warning that something bad is about to happen. It is a tool used by health experts to stay attentive and prepared. Think of it as careful listening rather than alarm. When an organization watches something closely, it means they are observing patterns, gathering information, and making sure systems are ready long before problems arise. From a medical perspective, this approach protects communities by allowing time and space to respond thoughtfully. Monitoring helps experts notice changes early, compare information across regions, and support healthcare systems quietly in the background. Most of this work happens without affecting daily life at all. Seniors can continue their routines, enjoy their days, and rest knowing that preparation is already taking place. In my caregiving experience, I often compare this to how we care for the aging brain. We do not wait for confusion or distress before offering support. We observe gently, we notice patterns, we make small adjustments that preserve stability. A watch list works in much the same way. It is about prevention through awareness, not fear through speculation. Simple science tells us that watching trends over time is safer than reacting suddenly. By observing how a virus behaves in different settings, experts can understand how it spreads, how it changes, and how to protect vulnerable populations if needed. This slow and steady approach is one of the reasons public health remains effective without constant disruption. For older adults, understanding this can bring relief. Being on a watch list does not mean you are at risk. It means professionals are carrying the responsibility of vigilance, so individuals do not have to. Awareness stays with the experts, while peace of mind stays with the public. I have seen many seniors feel calmer once they understand this distinction. The brain responds well when information feels proportional and respectful. When we know that monitoring is a sign of care rather than concern, anxiety often eases. WHO watchlist is ultimately about readiness. It reflects patience, foresight, and responsibility. These are qualities we value deeply in caregiving, and they are the same qualities that help communities stay steady. Understanding this allows us to remain informed without carrying worry forward, which is especially important as we age and prioritize emotional safety and dignity. Why some viruses are watched closely. Over the years, I have learned that global health systems pay attention in a very different way than the news cycle does. Headlines are built to be noticed quickly. Public health work is built to be steady and patient. This difference matters, especially for older adults who deserve information that feels grounded rather than jarring. Viruses are watched closely not because they are frightening, but because they teach us something over time. Health systems look for patterns. They notice where a virus appears, how often it appears, and how people respond to it. One isolated report does not guide decisions. Consistent trends do. This pattern-based approach allows experts to understand behavior quietly and responsibly. In clinical practice, I rely on the same principle. A single day of confusion or fatigue does not define a person's health. What matters is whether a change repeats, grows, or resolves. Global monitoring works in the same thoughtful way. Experts watch how a virus behaves across months and across communities, not how it sounds in a single moment. Older adults often tell me they feel uneasy when they hear repeated mentions of a virus without explanation. That uneasiness comes from missing context. When information is framed around patterns rather than events, the brain can relax. It understands that attention does not equal danger. It equals preparedness. From a simple science standpoint, viruses differ in how they interact with the human body and the environment. Some change quickly, some spread quietly. Some appear rarely but deserve observation because of how they behave biologically. Watching these characteristics over time helps experts plan calmly rather than react suddenly. In dementia care, we learn to step back and observe before we intervene. We notice what helps and what overwhelms. We adjust gently. Public health systems do the same. They observe without rushing, knowing that patience leads to better outcomes than urgency. This approach protects seniors in a very real way. It means systems are ready before stress reaches individuals. It means hospitals, caregivers, and communities are supported quietly behind the scenes. Most importantly, it means daily life does not need to change in response to every piece of news. I have seen how much peace this understanding can bring. When seniors realize that monitoring is about careful attention rather than alarm, their bodies respond with calm. Sleep improves, worry softens. The nervous system settles. Watching closely is an act of respect. It respects the complexity of health and the dignity of those being protected. By focusing on patterns instead of headlines, global health systems offer steadiness. That steadiness is something the aging brain understands and appreciates deeply. Nipah Virus explained without medical jargon. When a virus has a name that sounds unfamiliar, it can feel distant and unsettling at the same time. I have seen this reaction often in older adults who simply want to understand what they are hearing without being pulled into worry. My goal here is to explain Nipah virus in a calm and human way, so it feels understandable rather than overwhelming. Nipah virus is a virus that has been identified in certain parts of the world and is studied because of how it behaves, not because it is common in everyday life. It does not spread easily in most situations, and it is not something people encounter during normal daily routines. Health experts pay attention to it because they want to understand its patterns, not because it is expected to affect communities suddenly. From a simple perspective, a virus is a tiny organism that needs a host to survive. Different viruses interact with the body in different ways. Some cause mild symptoms and pass quickly. Others are studied more carefully because of how the body responds to them. Nipah virus belongs to the second group. It is observed closely so experts can learn how it behaves over time. What matters most for seniors is understanding that attention does not equal immediacy. A virus can be important to study even when it poses no immediate concern to daily life. This is similar to how doctors monitor changes in blood pressure or memory over time. Watching carefully allows for thoughtful care rather than rushed decisions. In my years of caring for older adults, I have learned that clarity reduces stress. When people know what something is and what it is not, their bodies often relax. Nipah virus is not part of everyday exposure for most people. It is discussed because professionals value preparation and responsibility. The body responds best when it feels informed and calm. When explanations are simple and respectful, the brain can absorb information without becoming tense. This is especially important for seniors, whose nervous systems may be more sensitive to uncertainty. I often remind patients that understanding does not require technical language. It requires honesty and context. Knowing that Nipah virus is studied carefully helps explain why it appears in conversations about monitoring. It does not mean outcomes are being predicted. It means knowledge is being built slowly and responsibly. By approaching this topic with steadiness, we protect emotional safety. The aging brain benefits when information feels manageable. Calm explanations allow people to stay grounded and focused on what truly matters, which is maintaining routine, dignity, and peace of mind. Understanding a virus in this way transforms it from a source of worry into a topic of awareness. Awareness supports confidence. Confidence supports well-being. This gentle understanding is what allows seniors to remain informed while continuing to live fully and comfortably. Global health monitoring and everyday life. One of the most important questions older adults ask me is how global health monitoring affects their own daily lives. It is a reasonable question. When you hear that experts are watching something closely, it can sound as if change is coming. In reality, the purpose of monitoring is to protect daily life, not disrupt it. Global health monitoring works quietly in the background. It does not ask individuals to alter their routines or live differently. Instead, it allows professionals to gather information, compare data, and prepare support systems without drawing attention to the process. This behind-the-scenes work means most people will never notice it at all. In medical care, we do something similar every day. We monitor blood pressure, heart rhythms, or memory changes without alarming the patient. Monitoring allows us to stay informed while preserving normalcy. Global health systems apply the same principle on a larger scale. They observe patterns so that communities can continue functioning with stability and confidence. For seniors, routine is essential. The brain thrives on predictability. Sudden changes in schedule, environment, or expectations can create stress and confusion. Monitoring exists precisely to avoid that. By staying attentive early, health systems reduce the likelihood of abrupt public changes later. This protects emotional safety and supports long-term well-being. I have worked with many older adults who worried that news about monitoring meant they should be on alert. When we talked through what monitoring actually involves, their concerns eased. They realized that their daily activities remained safe and unchanged. They could continue walking, socializing, resting, and enjoying their routines without interruption. From a simple scientific perspective, monitoring helps experts understand how a virus behaves in real-world conditions. This understanding informs planning, communication, and resource readiness. All of this happens long before individuals are asked to take action. It is preparation, not reaction. Caregivers benefit from this approach as well. When systems are prepared quietly, families feel less pressure. They can focus on providing calm support rather than managing uncertainty. This steadiness is especially important for seniors living with memory changes, who rely on consistent environments to feel secure. Global health monitoring is designed to serve the public without burdening it. It allows life to continue with dignity and peace. Knowing this helps seniors stay grounded and confident. Awareness becomes a source of reassurance rather than worry. This understanding supports emotional balance and protects the routines that make everyday life feel safe and meaningful. Why older adults often feel more concerned? As we grow older, our relationship with uncertainty changes. I have seen this clearly in my years of caring for seniors, especially those living with memory changes. What feels like mild uncertainty to a younger person can feel much heavier to an older adult. This is not a weakness. It is a natural response shaped by experience, responsibility, and the desire to remain steady and independent. In dementia care, we learn quickly that the brain becomes more sensitive to the unknown. When details are unclear or information feels incomplete, the mind tries to fill in the gaps. That effort takes energy. For an aging brain, that extra effort can lead to worry, fatigue, or a sense of unease. Uncertainty asks the brain to stay alert, and staying alert for long periods is tiring. Older adults have also lived long enough to know that health matters. They have seen illness touch friends, spouses, and family members. That history makes new information feel personal, even when it is not directly relevant to daily life. When a topic appears repeatedly without explanation, it can quietly settle into the background of the mind and create tension. From my caregiving experience, I have learned that clarity is calming. When seniors understand what information means and what it does not mean, their bodies often relax. Heart rate steadies, sleep improves, conversation becomes easier. The nervous system responds to reassurance when it feels genuine and respectful. Memory changes can heighten this sensitivity. When the brain already works harder to process information, uncertainty can feel overwhelming. That is why routine and familiarity become so important with age. Familiar patterns reduce the need for constant interpretation. They tell the brain that life is predictable and safe. I have cared for patients who became anxious simply because they sensed concern around them. Caregivers may not realize how much seniors pick up on tone and mood. Even without words, worry is felt. This is why calm communication matters so deeply. When caregivers speak slowly, explain gently, and repeat information with patience, the brain settles. Another reason concern feels stronger with age is the desire to protect dignity. Seniors often worry about losing independence or being treated differently. Unclear health information can feel like a threat to that dignity. Clear explanations restore a sense of control and respect. Understanding this helps us respond with compassion. It reminds us to slow down, offer context, and avoid rushing conversations. When uncertainty is met with calm guidance, the aging brain responds with trust rather than tension. Older adults do not need more information. They need information that feels safe. When clarity replaces uncertainty, concern softens. This creates space for confidence, patience, and emotional balance to return, which is essential for maintaining well-being at every stage of aging. Staying informed without carrying worry, one of the most meaningful lessons I have learned in caregiving is that information should lighten the mind, not weigh it down. Many older adults tell me they want to stay informed, yet they do not want health news to follow them into quiet moments or disturb their sleep. That balance is not only possible, it is essential for brain health and emotional well-being. As we age, the brain becomes more sensitive to how information is delivered. Facts presented without context can feel heavy. Repetition without explanation can create tension. In dementia care, we learned that the brain responds best when learning happens slowly and with reassurance. The same principle applies to public health information. Understanding grows when it arrives gently. Staying informed does not mean absorbing everything at once. It means choosing trusted sources that speak with clarity and patience. It also means allowing yourself to pause. The brain needs time to process and settle. When seniors feel permission to step back from constant updates, their nervous systems often calm. Calm supports memory, focus, and emotional stability. From a simple medical perspective, worry places the body in a state of alert. Prolonged alertness can affect sleep, digestion, and concentration. When information creates worry, it works against health. When information creates understanding, it supports balance. This is why tone matters just as much as content. I have watched patients become more confident simply because they felt supported in how they learned. When caregivers offered explanations slowly and checked for understanding, anxiety softened. The brain relaxed because it felt respected. That respect protects dignity and independence. Creating a space where learning feels safe is deeply important to me. It is why I speak the way I do and why this channel exists. I want seniors to feel informed without feeling responsible for carrying the weight of global health concerns. That responsibility belongs to experts whose role is to watch and prepare quietly. If you find that these conversations help you feel steadier and more at ease, I invite you to stay connected. I'm Dr. Evelyn Carter from Senior Health Daily. If this video has helped you better understand your health, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing Senior Health Daily. Your support truly encourages us to continue creating calm, helpful, and trustworthy health content made especially for you. Staying informed should feel like having a gentle guide by your side. Not someone urging you forward, but someone walking at your pace. When information arrives with care, the brain feels safe enough to learn without holding on to worry. That sense of safety is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves as we age. Preparedness versus panic. One of the quiet struggles I see in older adults is the feeling that they must either ignore health news completely or become anxious about it. In clinical care, we do not live at either extreme. We practice preparedness. Preparedness is calm readiness. Panic is emotional urgency. They may look similar from the outside because both involve attention, but they feel very different inside the body. Preparedness begins with clear information. It asks simple questions. What do we know? What do we not know yet? What is being done to learn more? It respects time and evidence. Panic skips those steps. Panic fills missing information with worst-case images and turns uncertainty into tension. The aging brain does not do well with that kind of tension. It can affect sleep, memory, and mood. In medicine, preparedness is built into everything we do. We monitor blood pressure, not because we expect a crisis today, but because we want to protect long-term health. We schedule checkups, not because we assume something is wrong, but because steady observation helps us respond early if needed. Public health monitoring works the same way. It is preparation in the background so daily life can remain stable. Panic, on the other hand, pushes the nervous system into constant alert. When the body stays on alert, stress hormones rise. In older adults, this can lead to increased fatigue, irritability, and mental fog. I have seen seniors become more confused simply because they were surrounded by anxious conversation. The brain senses emotional intensity and tries to respond, even when it does not need to. Preparedness also includes limits. It means taking in information and then returning to routine. Routine is not avoidance. Routine is regulation. It tells the brain that life is safe and predictable. In dementia care, we learn that repeating a calm daily rhythm reduces distress more effectively than any lecture ever could. The brain settles when it knows what comes next. Fear often feels urgent and endless. Preparedness feels steady and contained. It allows you to say, experts are watching, and I can continue living my life with dignity. That is a healthy mental boundary, especially for seniors who want to protect emotional balance. From a clinical perspective, preparedness is guided by evidence and proportion. It does not ask you to imagine outcomes. It asks you to understand systems. Those systems exist to carry the burden of vigilance, so individuals do not have to. When seniors understand this difference, their bodies often relax. They realize they can stay informed without becoming anxious. They can trust that readiness does not require fear. Preparedness is simply calm responsibility, and calm responsibility supports health, clarity, and peace of mind. Emotional safety and brain health. Over many years of caring for older adults, I have seen how closely the brain listens to emotion. It listens even before it understands words. When information arrives calmly, the brain feels supported. When information arrives with tension or urgency, the brain reacts as if it needs to protect itself. This response is especially strong in later life, when cognitive energy is more precious and easily depleted. Emotional safety is not about avoiding information. It is about how information is shared. The brain processes facts best when the nervous system is relaxed. Calm voices, steady pacing, and clear explanations allow the brain to absorb meaning without becoming overwhelmed. This is something we rely on deeply in dementia care. When explanations are rushed or emotionally charged, confusion increases. When explanations are gentle and repetitive, clarity often returns. Stress affects the brain in very real ways. Elevated stress hormones can interfere with memory, attention, and sleep. For older adults, even modest stress can lead to noticeable changes in thinking or mood. This is why calm information delivery matters so much. It reduces unnecessary strain on the brain and supports cognitive stability. I have cared for patients whose memory seemed worse during periods of worry, only to improve once reassurance was restored. Nothing about their condition had changed. What changed was the emotional environment. The brain had space to function again. This tells us that emotional safety is not separate from brain health. It is part of it. When health information is presented with proportion and context, the brain can stay grounded. It understands that attention does not mean threat. It understands that monitoring shows care, not danger. This understanding allows seniors to remain engaged with their lives, rather than withdrawing into worry. Routine also plays a role here. Calm information paired with familiar daily patterns creates stability. The brain knows when to focus and when to rest. It does not stay on alert. In dementia care, we often see better cognitive function when routines are preserved and emotional tone remains steady. The same principle applies to learning about health topics. Caregivers influence this process more than they realize. Their tone, facial expression, and patience communicate safety. When caregivers stay calm, seniors often mirror that calm. This shared steadiness strengthens trust and supports mental clarity. Emotional safety protects dignity. It allows seniors to feel capable rather than fragile. When the brain feels respected, it responds with resilience. Calm information delivery is not about minimizing importance. It is about honoring how the aging brain works best. When we choose calm over urgency, the brain remains stable. That stability supports memory, confidence, and peace of mind. Emotional safety becomes a quiet form of care that sustains brain health over time, allowing seniors to stay informed while remaining emotionally balanced and secure. Lessons from dementia. Care applied to public health news. Some of the most useful lessons I carry into conversations about public health come from dementia care. Dementia teaches us how the brain behaves when it feels overloaded. It teaches us that speed and volume do not create understanding. Calm repetition does. These lessons matter when seniors hear health news that feels unfamiliar or complex. In dementia care, we learn to slow everything down. We speak a little more softly. We offer one idea at a time. We repeat information without frustration. This is not because someone is incapable. It is because the brain needs space to organize what it hears. Public health information works the same way. When it arrives slowly and consistently, confidence grows. I have seen patients become anxious simply because information changed too quickly. New terms appeared. Explanations shifted. The brain struggled to keep up. When we paused and returned to the basics, understanding returned. The brain relaxed because it recognized familiar ground. That sense of familiarity is powerful. It restores trust. Repeating information is often misunderstood. Some people worry it sounds condescending. In caregiving, repetition is an act of respect. It acknowledges that the brain deserves time. Each repetition gives the mind another chance to settle the idea into place. Over time, what once felt confusing becomes familiar and safe. Public health news often arrives in fragments. A headline here, a brief mention there. Without context, those fragments can create unease. Dementia care teaches us to gather fragments into a simple story. When seniors understand the story, the pieces make sense. Understanding replaces worry. I remember a gentleman with memory loss who asked the same question many times a day. Each time, we answered calmly. Over time, his anxiety lessened. He did not need new answers. He needed reassurance delivered consistently. Seniors hearing public health news often need the same thing. Not more information, but steady explanation. Slowing down also preserves dignity. When seniors feel rushed, they may withdraw or feel embarrassed about asking questions. When we slow the pace, curiosity returns. Questions feel welcome. Confidence grows. This is essential for emotional safety. Caregivers play a vital role here. Their patience sets the tone. When caregivers repeat information calmly and check for understanding, seniors feel supported. The brain responds to that support with clarity. Applying dementia care principles to public health communication protects mental well-being. It reminds us that understanding is a process, not a moment. When information is shared gently and repeated with care, seniors feel capable and informed. Confidence does not come from knowing everything. It comes from feeling supported while learning. Slowing down and repeating information allows the brain to stay engaged without becoming overwhelmed. This approach honors the aging mind and helps public health news feel manageable, respectful, and clear. What monitoring protects most? When we step back and look at the purpose of monitoring, it becomes clear that what is being protected goes far beyond numbers or data. At its heart, monitoring exists to protect dignity, stability, and the quiet functioning of everyday life. This perspective is especially important for older adults, who value steadiness and respect more than constant change. In my years of caregiving, I have learned that dignity is preserved when people are not surprised by crisis. Monitoring allows health systems to notice changes early and prepare thoughtfully, so individuals are not suddenly asked to adjust their lives without warning. This kind of preparation honors the right of seniors to live without unnecessary disruption or fear. Stability is another key protection. The aging brain depends on predictable environments. Sudden shifts in routine or expectations can be deeply unsettling, particularly for those living with memory changes. Monitoring helps prevent abrupt responses. By watching trends carefully, experts can support communities quietly, keeping daily rhythms intact. Seniors can continue their routines, knowing that attention is happening behind the scenes. Community health is also safeguarded through this steady approach. Monitoring allows resources to be coordinated calmly rather than hurriedly. Hospitals, caregivers, and public services have time to prepare. This preparation reduces strain on systems and on families. It means care remains available and compassionate, not rushed or reactive. I often think of monitoring as an extension of good caregiving. When we care for someone with dementia, we observe gently. We notice small changes. We respond early and thoughtfully. We do not wait for distress to appear before offering support. Public health monitoring follows the same philosophy on a broader scale. It is care practiced with patience. For seniors, understanding this can be reassuring. It means that watch lists are not about labeling or alarming the public. They are about responsibility carried quietly by professionals whose role is to protect the whole community. That responsibility allows individuals to rest. I have seen how much relief older adults feel when they realize they are not expected to manage these concerns alone. Their bodies soften, their questions slow. They return to what matters most to them. This is the gift of thoughtful monitoring. It removes burden rather than adding it. What monitoring protects most is the ability to live with confidence. Confidence that systems are in place. Confidence that dignity is respected. Confidence that stability is valued. For older adults and caregivers alike, this understanding supports emotional safety and peace of mind. When we see monitoring as an act of care, not control, it becomes easier to trust it. It becomes a quiet assurance that someone is watching so we can continue living fully, calmly, and with dignity within our communities. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to thank you for listening with such care. Staying present and seeking understanding is already an act of kindness toward yourself. It tells your body and your mind that you are paying attention without judgment and that matters more than we often realize. Being monitored does not mean being threatened. It means that skilled professionals are doing quiet, thoughtful work so you do not have to carry worry into your daily life. Their role is to watch carefully and prepare responsibly, allowing the rest of us to live with steadiness and confidence. In my years of caregiving, I have seen how much relief comes when people know they are not alone in holding concern. There is a truth I return to again and again. The aging brain thrives when it feels respected, unhurried, and informed without pressure. When information arrives gently, the mind settles. When learning feels safe, clarity grows. Your body has carried you through many seasons, adapting and responding in ways that deserve gratitude. Meeting it with patience allows that resilience to continue. Senior Health Daily exists to be a steady place you can return to whenever health information feels overwhelming. Not a place of urgency, but a place of calm understanding. A place where questions are welcome and dignity is protected. If these conversations help you feel more grounded, I invite you to stay connected with us and walk this path together. For now, there is nothing to fix and nothing to decide today. You can rest, you can breathe, you can trust that understanding is already enough. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I look forward to being here with you again, offering companionship, reassurance, and gentle guidance whenever you need it.